Consider the dedicated modern practitioner, 700 days logged on their meditation app, 30 minutes on the cushion every single morning. Perfect consistency. Yet, if you look closely at their life, their baseline anxiety, their daily reactivity, and the emotional weight they carry remain exactly the same as day one. The common assumption is a flaw in the setup. They think they are sitting with poor posture, or that they simply haven't found the exact right technique yet. In reality, they are trapped in an illusion of progress. They are operating on a severe misunderstanding of how the mechanics of meditation actually function. To understand why thousands of hours of practice yield zero results, we have to look at how the human mind systematically dismantles a session before the timer even begins. The failure usually starts hours before the practitioner actually sits down. We need to examine the state of their nervous system throughout the day. A typical routine involves a steady drip of digital stimulation, uncontrolled indulgence in food or distractions, and a continuous loop of internal mental chatter. These inputs have an immediate physical consequence. They create a tense, highly agitated body that is biologically incapable of settling down on command. When this chaotic nervous system finally hits the cushion, the immediate result is profound physical discomfort and profound restlessness. To escape this intense friction, the mind deploys its first evasion tactic, treating the practice like a buffet. The practitioner jumps rapidly between methods, 10 minutes of breath awareness, then a switch to chanting, followed by a sudden pivot to koan inquiry the moment things get difficult. The mind justifies this erratic behavior, telling the practitioner a specific technique just doesn't feel right, or that it isn't yielding immediate results. This visualization shows scattered lines failing to penetrate a barrier, representing fragmented method hopping. Real progress requires absolute commitment to one method to develop samadhi, intense, stable concentration. Committing to a single technique consolidates effort, finally pushing past that initial resistance. What practitioners often call exploring techniques is really a defensive evasion tactic. It guarantees that stable concentration never forms. If a practitioner manages to stop method hopping and commits to a single focus, they eventually hit the real obstacles. Sustained attention forces intense physical pain and deep emotional turbulence to the surface. The typical response is to stop the timer early. The practitioner feels agitated and concludes that their meditation is failing. That assumption is entirely backwards. The surfacing of deep desire, agitation, and emotional pain is the exact purpose of the practice. Leaving the cushion the moment they appear prevents the actual work from happening. For those who stay seated but subconsciously flee from the pain, there is a dangerous trap: unconscious emptiness. In this state, time passes quickly and the mind feels peaceful, but it is not deep awareness. It is an entirely passive, dull condition where active attention disappears completely. Practitioners mistake this blank, unconscious void for enlightenment. In reality, it produces zero insight and traps them in a stagnant loop indefinitely. Maintaining perfect consistency means nothing if that time is spent engaged in an endless cycle of technique hopping, quitting early, or sinking into a dull blankness. At this point, the natural response is to assume you are just lacking willpower. You tell yourself that you just need to apply extreme discipline and force your way through the pain. That is incorrect. Brute force willpower is the wrong tool for the problem. This structural blueprint illustrates a foundational load-bearing pillar. As downward force is applied, it violently buckles and fractures due to internal structural weakness. The same principle applies to your practice. Even with flawless discipline and an iron will, your physical body itself may currently be incapable of supporting deep meditation. Attempting to force mental stillness onto a body that is biologically and structurally compromised is the ultimate trap. To make real progress, we first have to address the physical realities of the practice.